This is episode 304, and it's a new episode. It was supposed to be a rerun, but we popped in a new one because Danni, Amapoundcake Adams, and I had to get together to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing that are influencing our body image and body liberation as a whole. And two of those trends are weight loss drugs and our culture's fixation with looking younger. So we are having a nuanced discussion about that today. We also talk about our body image coach certification program and our experience with the latest cohort and the new format, because our fall cohort is currently open for enrollment and we start in September. So you definitely want to check that out if you are curious about becoming a certified body image coach. You can find the links mentioned at summerinnanen.com/304. I want to give a shout out to jbells1234 who left this review. Very interesting and helpful podcast, reframing ways I've been conditioned to think about myself and my worth. Summer's kind and thoughtful words are helping me on my path to accepting my middle-aged body and to see that it is society and its messaging that needs to change, not me. Love it. Now, on to something totally new for this new season that's going to be starting in September. That's starting a little bit early with this episode. I have started an account on Ko-fi, which is spelled Ko-fi, and it's similar to Patreon. To be honest, I don't really know the difference, but I chose it because my friend Vinny has a Ko-fi account and it allows you to support the podcast. So it's been a bit of a different year for me going back to school to get my master's degree. My financial situation has changed quite a bit. And as a result, I have to make some business decisions in order to keep certain aspects of the business afloat and let some other things go in order to keep things operational for the next 2 years until I graduate. And so the podcast costs a lot of money to produce. There's a lot that goes into it. There's my incredible assistant, Julia, who does a lot of the behind the scenes work, including doing the show notes and helping to create social media images and other aspects of the production as well. I have an incredible editor. His name is Yorgos. I hope I said that right. We've never actually talked, but he's been working on this podcast for years, like 9 years, 8 years, I think. And so it's one of those interesting relationships where it's like we know each other, but we've never actually spoken. And that doesn't even include my own labor that goes into the show, including all of the hours that I spend researching for solo episodes, researching for guest interviews, reading their books, and actually recording the interviews. So it's a lot of time and money that goes into this podcast. And in order to keep it on for another season, I need your help. You can support this podcast for as little as $5 a month. You just go to kofi.com/summerinnanen. That's spelled ko-fi.com/summerinnanen. I'm also going to link that in the show notes as well as in the description for this episode. So if you go to info, you'll see that link there. And when you do that, when you contribute $5 a month, you're going to keep the show on the air. As well, you're going to get my free mini course, Conquering Negative Body Talk. There's a couple other contributions you can make too that allow you to get a shout out on the show, as well as be able to submit a question for me to do a podcast episode around. So those are some other options as well. But for $5, you get the free mini course, Conquering Negative Body Talk. So definitely good value there. And it helps to contribute to keeping the show on the air. I want to keep this information as free as I can, but I can only do that to a certain extent. And I'm at a point where I need some support to get that done as I finish my school program over the next couple of years. Okay, as always, you can grab the free 10-day body confidence makeover at summerinnanen.com/freebies with 10 steps to take right now to feel better in your body. And if you're a professional who works with people who also have body image struggles, get the free body image coaching roadmap, which is also newly updated at summerinnanen.com/roadmap. All right, let's get into the show. This is Eat the Rules, a podcast about body image, self-worth, anti-dieting, and intersectional feminism. I am your host, Summer Innanen, a professionally trained coach specializing in body image, self-worth, and confidence, and the best-selling author of Body Image Remix. If you're ready to break free of societal standards and stop living behind the number on your scale, then you have come to the right place. Welcome to the show. This episode of Eat the Rules is brought to you by You on Fire. You on Fire is the online group coaching program that I run that gives you a step-by-step way of building up your self-worth beyond your appearance. With personalized coaching from me, incredible community support, and lifetime access to the program so that you can get free from body shame and live life on your own terms. Get details on what's included and sign up for the next cycle at summerinanen.com/you on fire. I'd love to have you in that group. Hello. Hi, Danni. How are you?
Hey, good.
We made it work. We're here.
We are here. We're here. We made it.
We just wrapped up our latest cohort of the Body Image Coach certification program. How do you think it went?
I think the program went pretty well. We had a really good engaged group, which I always think we have pretty good engagement for our groups, but this was definitely a group that loved to talk. I think this program, some of the changes that we made just brought in some new dynamic elements. From more role playing was incorporated. The case studies seemed like everybody was into the case studies and just getting more unique ways to practice. I think it went good. How do you feel?
Yeah, I really liked the new format. I think we got a lot of positive feedback. So for people listening, the new format is a lot of the teachings, like the kind of the foundational materials, that's available in an online component. So people complete it at their own pace. And then we meet once a month for 6 months to do integration. And that's where we take, okay, here's what you've learned the last couple of weeks. And now here's a case study. Like, how would you use that with this person? And how, what's your own personal experience with this, or what challenges are you finding? And let's actually practice this now. Let's watch you practice amongst each other, and we can give you feedback on that. And I think that we didn't have as much time for that before because we were spending most of the class teaching the material. So now that people can see the material on their own, and then when we get together, it's actually like, okay, how are we integrating this, and what does this look like in practice? And I thought we had such an amazing group of people. I thought they offered really, diverse professions, diverse backgrounds. We had a doctor, we had some therapists, we had eating disorder recovery practitioners,
PhD students.
Yes, PhD student. We had someone from Taiwan, which was really cool to have just a different worldview and experience in their region versus, what we kind of see in North America. We had people from Mexico. Yeah, it was really cool. I was really happy with it. So we're excited to offer it again in the fall. And the enrollment is open at the time of this broadcasting, and it will be open until September 4th. So if you're curious about...
Which is Beyonce's birthday, if you need a reminder.
Is it? Okay.
It's Beyonce's birthday.
Oh my God, how do we compete with that? All right.
We cannot, but make sure you sign up.
Yeah, it'll be Beyonce's birthday gift if you sign up. And
one thing I wanted to pull out about the class summer, I think with the new structure, it allowed folks to be able to process the information this time and kind of come back to us and say, I'm actually having a hard time understanding this material or doing this in practice. I hear what you're saying, but people found some things to be challenging, which is good. It's a learning space. And then by the end of the class, in our check-ins, folks seem to have more of an understanding and a plan of how they would go out and practice it, which is really good. The peer-to-peer learning, not just from us, but the peer-to-peer learning setup is really helpful.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's such a good point. I think that giving people the opportunity to digest it on their own is super helpful. And for anyone curious, it's not like a tremendous amount of time. It's to go through each module. Each module is about an hour. and there's 11 modules, but we encourage people to complete that over 6 months. So you're looking at, a couple hours a month over the course of 6 months. And then there's demonstrations to support all the different tools that we present in the program, and a whole bunch of other resources and bonuses. So yeah, you can check it out. And we also have our foundations program, which is just the online content. So that's for people who maybe already have an existing practice, or they want to do the certification, but at a later time, but they want to get started and do the material. And that's available as well. And that is just access to that online materials, the 11 modules, whereas the certification, we do a lot more integration work, and there's a lot of other bonuses that come with the certification, including being able to be listed on the directory as a certified body image coach.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too is like also to get the certification to be able to do the in assignment, which is the case studies. It's an amalgamation of all the materials, the theories, the techniques. How would you apply them? And it's not too difficult. We give folks a month after the course is over to be able to turn that into us. And Summer and I have to take a deep dive before we give out the certification. It isn't difficult, right? But we also want to make sure that people are representing this program and really going out to not just this program, but really going out into the community and doing dynamic work and helping turn some of this shit around, for people.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about what some of that shit is in a bit. And I think that what I wanted to add to that is just that I think we feel so good about these new practitioners. Like, they're not necessarily new practitioners, but in whatever profession they have, and then adding this to their tool belt. So they're in the directory. And so, for example, if you're looking for a dietitian who also has been trained to support with body image, or you're looking for a therapist that's specifically been trained, then you can find that directory and be able to locate those professionals and connect with those professionals and know that they've been through our program, that they've worked with us, and with the new structure of the certification that, that we've worked intimately with them to put them in the best spot to work with clients around these struggles. And so I think that's the part that's also really exciting to me, is that it's got this, if you're listening to this podcast and you're looking for a practitioner, like, we've got a small directory, but we'll hopefully continue to grow as more people go through our course and program. And we're really proud to represent those individuals and encourage people to work with them.
Yeah. I have nothing to echo. Amen.
Okay. So check it out, bodyimagecoachcertification.com. And you can always email us for more details. And now let's get into the said shit you were referring to earlier.
Yes.
Let's talk about what are you noticing within the current climate as it relates to beauty standards, body positivity? What are you noticing? Because I know we kind of connect, we always do this podcast every 6 months together, but I feel like stuff has changed or is changing. And so what are you noticing?
Well, first I want to say, nothing that I'm noticing is something that wasn't easily predictable. We have COVID coming and everyone's like, COVID wait, COVID wait, COVID wait. There was a lot of body shaming, but the body positivity movement is big, is massive at this point. It's far more commercialized than it was before. But my concerns at that time, and y'all can go fact check me, I was on a lot of platforms saying this, the more that body positivity and fat liberation rests on the influencer, and that we do not have a complete system of people unlearning the harmful impacts of this, we are going to regress. And I think we're at the moment where we are regressing, and we see that there is more push for more weight loss drugs. We have major celebrities, the Osbournes, Oprah, pushing Ozempic, putting a lot of money behind mass media pushes with influencers. You see influencers who were body positive at one point. Now all of a sudden they are saying, well, this is my body, my choice. I should be able to lose weight. And I have never been against folks losing weight. The problem becomes in the way that you do it and how the marketing is done. And so, yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing right now, I think is we're regressing. We're back in a harmful place. What you think?
Yeah, I think that body positivity, and I put those in quotation marks, but had this big moment, and kind of like everything, like it's sort of everything kind of goes one way and then ricochets back the other way. And I think that we're witnessing that right now. And I'm seeing a lot of the discourse online being around, there's just so much more pressure to be thinner. And, weight stigma is even worse now. People's experiences at the doctor is even worse because doctors are just saying, well, now we've got this quote unquote miracle drug. And I think that what I've sort of said, and I know like you've said this a lot as well as other people, but, body positivity was never going to change anything. It was never going to eradicate weight stigma. And I think we've seen that's not what's going to eradicate weight stigma. And so I think that there's a real increased pressure on people to be in a smaller body and to lose weight. And I'm seeing that with my clients. I'm seeing that with, just discussions online when I lurk around and look at what people are saying. I think it's had a pretty big impact and will probably continue to do so until things go the other way again, which they probably will at some point.
Yeah. I also think that fat influencers have always been in a difficult position. And this is why I thought that, it is unfair to put our movement on vulnerable people through and I don't say that in a way that doesn't mean that fat influencers are not responsible, but vulnerable folks online. What I mean by that is fat people are one of the most marginalized group, especially if they hold other identities, like myself being Black. The algorithms obviously do not support them if this is the way that they're making their money off. They're making their living. At some point, there is going to be a pivot in order to make ends meet at the house. That is how capitalism functions. I've always been a big supporter of organizations like NAFA and getting organized. If you've ever read the book The Power of Plus, I mentioned in that book, where I really mentioned that community organizing is far more important than all of us getting online and saying we should love our bodies, because that's going to die. I've been working in social justice for a very long time, over 10 years, and this is the first movement that I've seen kind of structured in this way. That the movement is mostly, if it's the online space, it is led by the influencer. If it's the academic space over there, it is led by the white and or close to white. And so, right, it's so, because who gets to be the academic? And so all of these things are a problem, but I think we need to get behind organizations like NAFA who do have great politics, who are trying to push policy, which also creates structures to be able to hold big corporations. I'm not saying this is their plan, but I'm saying getting organized. And also programs like ours, right, is when I don't know about you, not to take us to a pivot, but every day I am getting messages from these weight loss drug companies to move and endorse their drug. The more we have folks who are equipped with the messaging, the understanding that this is bigger than ourselves, this is bigger than likes and clicks and individual people, that this is about systems and making sure that people are safe within our society, then I think that we would be on the right track. But we haven't gotten there. And a big part of it is, I'm going to be honest, there is no incentive for white people of all sizes to really ground themselves in a movement. What I mean by that is that white people can always escape whatever marginalized thing that they attach themselves with, being fat, being marginalized for their body. White people know that they're privileged, and they took up a lot of space in the body positivity movement. And now they want to be the face of a white drug, also a weight loss drug, and not to absolve Oprah of accountability of being a billionaire who's also a Black woman. But the reality is, the people that I mostly see pushing this and then quoted in these articles are white women who were mid-sized to begin with, saying, "Come on, gang, let's get it moving."
Yes. Yes, 100%, 100%. And the argument of body autonomy, I think that that's something to be brought into this conversation too, right? Because that's what we'll hear people say is, well, it's body autonomy. I'm allowed to talk about whatever I want. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. And I think that both you and I agree with body autonomy. Yes, you can do whatever you want. But I think that when you have influence, and that influence is upholding weight stigma and perpetuating anti-fatness, then that's where the problem lies. And I think that that's what we're seeing in a lot of these instances is people saying, well, it's my choice, it's my body. That's great. What's the greater impact that it's having on our culture and on our systems? You know, even though influencers may not necessarily like influence a system, I think indirectly they do. I think that it's just the discourse. It's you know, people feeling more comfortable talking about these things openly, weight loss drugs and losing weight and stuff. And so I don't think that you or I, and you can obviously speak for yourself, are necessarily like against someone as an individual taking this drug. I think where we see the problem is the overall impact that this has on the systems and making doctors' visits even worse, making access to healthcare even worse. We talked about, you and I privately, about how Ozempic as a diabetes drug is less available and less accessible to Black individuals in the US specifically as a result of what's happening with it being pushed for weight loss. And so people who actually need drugs for medical conditions like diabetes are having a harder time getting it, and it's more expensive. And so who's actually, you know, who's really being hurt at the end of the day with all of this?
The most marginalized forever. Yeah, and also the people who have a history of a most negative experience with healthcare providers in general. There's so much in research about medical racism. And, you know, if they let that man become president, we will see more marginalizations regarding this. But that's the thing, you know, I've always stood on the side of, I understand why individuals want to lose weight, especially Black and brown people, because encountering doctors and the fear of, if I am big, I will have more medical complications, and which means that I have to have more interactions with the doctor, which means that my safety, you know, my safety is a concern. And we have to be sympathetic and empathetic to that. And so I completely understand what's happening. But I do not support the idea that there isn't accessibility for the people who actually need this for their health, because, you know, this thing that other folks are running away for, they're for, you know, it's just a cycle, right? It's a cycle of medical neglect at the end of the day. Yeah, that needs to stop.
Well, you and I put up a post about, you know, have weight loss drugs ruined body positivity for a workshop that we did about supporting clients in the age of Ozempic. And I think one of the comments was, is there something wrong with fat people wanting to avoid future health complications? Like, is it fat phobic to want to change your lifestyle? That was one of the questions that we got.
What do you think?
Okay, put it back on me first. Okay. Yeah, I think that, you know, when we talk about health, we can talk about that separate from weight loss, right? Like if we want to talk about changing lifestyle, sure. Increased sleep, drinking more water, getting some fresh air, all these things. And of course, there are barriers to those things. It's a privilege to be able to have access to those types of things. So I don't think it's fat phobic to want to change somebody's lifestyle. But I think that often lifestyle is code for weight loss. I think health is code for weight loss. And I think that, again, if that's what somebody wants to do, there's a lot of, of course, it makes a lot of sense. Some people need life-saving surgery that they cannot have unless they lose weight, gender affirming surgery, fertility treatments. There's all these different barriers that require someone to have a certain BMI. And so it makes perfect sense that somebody would want to, it comes from this place of safety and protection and wanting to live the life that they want to live. And so I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that, again, where I take issue is when health and weight are just included, wrapped up, tied up in the same conversation without looking at what are really the barriers to health. How can we look at those things? What about the role of weight stigma in health? What about the role of weight cycling in health? And again, I never want someone to feel bad for wanting to lose weight, especially as a straight size person, I hold a lot of privilege. And so I understand it makes sense if somebody wants to lose weight. I think it's just, so I want to make it clear, there's nothing wrong with a fat person wanting to lose weight to avoid potential, health complications or anything like that. But I think a lot of the time, sometimes those health complications don't necessarily always get solved by losing weight as well. And so that's where I stand on that. What about you?
I think my thoughts are really quite similar to yours, but I don't know if this is a little bit off topic, but I think that also folks have this fear of not being able-bodied for the rest of their lives. And there's a little bit of ableism that is really wrapped up in that, also in that fat phobia. And that has been on my heart quite a bit. Cause I don't know if I told you, but I should have told you, but I was trying to dance with these kids and teach them how to Dougie, and I fell and hurt my leg and all the things. I'm on crutches. Well, yes. Well, supposed to be on crutches.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Oh.
Supposed to be on crutches. But, I really don't like the crutches. Anyway, I was thinking about wow, in this moment, I am temporarily, as far as I know right now, temporarily disabled. And I think that sometimes when I hear people talking about health, they think if you do these things, when you get old, you won't even feel it. You're really going to be like a 40-year-old. And it's come on, guys, it's really, people need to get okay with aging. They need to get okay with that bodies do change, that life, when you talk about life or lifestyle, there's things that can happen in your life that can change anything. Today, you got access to food. Tomorrow, you may not. Today, you can walk. Tomorrow, you may not. And it has nothing to do with a weight loss supplement. It's almost like the messaging it's not health or die. It is really be thin, able-bodied, and white, or die. And that's literally the message that I feel that comes from the health community. It is literally coded in anti-Blackness and ableism.
Yes. And then classism comes in because, well, when we think about who has access to healthcare, who has access to weight loss drugs, who can afford how much is it a month? $1,000, $500, a lot. It's a lot of money.
My HSA card don't stretch that long.
Yeah. And so I think that it's that's part of the conversation too, is it's furthering, it's continuing to uphold classism and how it relates to all that. And also, who do we think of? What's the image that comes to mind when we think of wealth? We think of whiteness, I think, predominantly being tied to that. And so, again, so much of it being rooted in anti-Blackness. And so being able to see these things, whether or not someone decides to use these weight loss drugs, I think needs to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, we are here.
What have you seen? I've seen issues with weight loss drugs in terms of clients or just discussions that you've had with people. Some of the things I've seen is people who or have worked really hard at accepting their bodies and changing their relationship with food. And now this has kind of derailed them a bit or made them question themselves, made them question the path that they're on. I've also seen like a lot of increased weight stigma. What have you seen?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I don't know if folks have heard about like the Ozempic body. That's a whole conversation now. Like, oh, when you get off Ozempic, you have a Ozempic body, because in most cases with rapid weight loss, people have excess skin. So now the goalpost is moving. Like, you can't just lose the 50 pounds rapidly. You can't just lose the 100 pounds. The thing that you have to do next is now you need to get plastic surgery because you are no longer desirable. I mean, the goalpost continues to move and move and move. It's an expense, right? It's classism. It is, you are not beautiful and desirable until you meet our standard. And I think that maybe here or other places, well, in our course, I talk about how Kimberly Nicole Foster has this video on YouTube, maybe it's on her For Harriet channel, where she talks about the Kardashians will never stop changing their bodies because they see their body as currency. And I think that now that we are, I love to use that phrase because now that we are in the era of Ozempic, it's the same thing, right? It's like people's bodies are never going to be good enough, especially in a social media era where people are supposed to show off their weight loss. Oh, no, now you can't do it because you're not fat anymore, but you definitely don't meet the desirable standards of being thin. And then there's also something else that I'm seeing where people are letting this weight loss journey really consume their lives. Like, wait till I get to this, wait till I do this, wait till I get to this side. I follow a couple people that I love and adore, but they are about to weight loss me to death with their vision of the future of weight loss. And sometimes I really feel sad. You know, it's a little bit of heartbreak. Like, you can go to the park now, you can get a date now.
Yeah, totally.
All the things, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's that belief. And then there's the other belief too about like, well, if I just use this, then I'll be able to maintain it with like quote unquote lifestyle changes. And I think that is just that magical thinking, like this is going to be the be all and solution. This is like the miracle. But I think it's the same shit. It's like if anytime you do any form of extreme weight loss, you have this belief that like, well, then I'll just maintain it through lifestyle changes. And that rarely happens. I did a podcast episode with Asher Larmy, who has really done a lot of work looking at all of the different research papers that come out around weight loss drugs. So if people are more curious about like the weight regain and the side effects and all that stuff, then definitely check out that episode. I'll leave that in the show notes. But I think that that's another issue that I'm seeing. And also just like people, I've seen some people online talk about how they've lost weight and they still hate their body and they still have this bad relationship with food and they thought that this was going to fix it all. And as you and I both know, like that doesn't fix it. Like that might change your experience in the world, but it doesn't change your inner world. It doesn't change how you feel about yourself. And that's obviously the work that we do with clients and that we teach practitioners to do with clients.
Yeah, honestly, you know, and I also think about this, and I won't harp on this too long. It's like we're raising the next generation and they're watching us, and Gen Alpha is online, and it's like what we do in this moment really is going to set the tone about how future generations see their bodies. And I'm not cool with what we're teaching. You know, we have a generation of young people who are obsessed with skincare because of us. We're pushing young people to think that they need to not age, and they're afraid of being old. And it's like, baby, you're 9, you're 12. What are you talking about here? You already have your youth. I think there's just so much that is coming out. And that's why I think coming out of this conversation, and that's why I really think that influencers really do have to be responsible. I don't think they have to carry the movement, but I think that they have to be responsible with their platforms.
100%. Yeah, influence, right? Like the word is literally right there. You have influence. What are you doing with that? And the whole skincare thing, it really, it's so disturbing to see, because I do not, when I was in my teens, when I was in my 20s, I couldn't care less about my skin, like at all. And so it was never even a thing. And so now that's layered on top of having to look, I have your body look a certain way. Now your skin has to look a certain way. I see people who are like in their 20s, like worrying about looking like they're in their 30s. And as someone who's like halfway through their 40s, I look and I'm like, you don't even know what you have. But also, it's just so ageist. Like, why do we need everyone to have a skin like they're 20 years old? Like,
we don't.
Who cares?
We don't need everybody to have skin like they're 20 years old. But however, there is a skincare brand that I really like. I think it's called Topicals. It's owned by a Black and Asian youth. And like all of the models that they use are people with acne. And even though there is people who post before and after, actually they really promote that their cleansers are for people who will have acne forever. And I really think that that is such a cool and dynamic thing. There's a documentary about Black skincare and beauty brands on YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, on Netflix. I think that brand is on there. But overall, like, children using retinol, come on now, eye cream, anti-aging cream. When I was a child, really just used sunscreen. I'm not sure what has changed about skin, except that people, one is see this as a form of self-care. I always thought that was dangerous. I mean, can be, but why is everything, look, don't let me get on the rant, because I will, and I don't want to take up too much of the viewer's time, but it's really unnecessary. And I hope that we can start having the difficult conversations that we need to have. And that's why I think our program is so important, because in our program, we help our practitioners help their clients create self-care plans that are not rooted in beauty. That is not rooted in weight loss, that people can actually spend time with themselves, their families, take breaks and rest and all the things, and also like fill up their time with something other than obsessing over their weight. I love that our program really addresses the history of some of these stigmas, and also how do we have the right conversations with our clients, opening up with the right questions so you can build a relationship, so a relationship that is rooted in trust, so that you can help your clients meet the goals that they want to meet. And I think with that, for those folks, a lot of our folks say that their clients have children, and that's what's beautiful about this program. The more that we help other practitioners help their clients, their clients have children, and they're a part of different communities across the globe. And I think that this program is really making an impact. And no matter how the conversation has shifted, what I appreciate about you and our Summer is we haven't folded or changed our stance on, like, we will not go with the trends. Ozempic be gone, okay?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think that it's like, but these are the nuanced conversations we have to be prepared to have with our clients. Like, we can't tell a client, like, well, you shouldn't take weight loss drugs. You shouldn't do this with your body. Like, we need to develop the skills to be able to coach them, to be able to work with them, knowing that, like, they are the ones in charge of their body. They're the ones in charge of making those decisions for their body, but we can help them to make the decision that is really going to be best for them in the long term, and developing those skills, instead of just having a client in front of you and you're telling them, like, well, if you take Ozempic, there's going to be all these side effects and you're going to gain all the weight back and blah, 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 blah. Like, that doesn't change people's minds. Like, helping people to really, like, asking them questions like, what do you think is going to happen? What would be better for you? And, like, truly understanding and having compassion and empathy and working with them on it. And even if that means, like, taking more of, like, a harm reduction approach, knowing that maybe they are taking those drugs. Okay, well, what else can you do to minimize the risk of them taking those drugs, minimize the risk to their mental health, minimize the risk to their physical health. And so those are the things that we really teach in our program. And we want practitioners to feel really comfortable being equipped with skills to be able to work with clients around those things. I feel like we're done. I feel like that's it. Should we wrap it up? Okay, so you can find more about the Body Image Coach Certification Program at bodyimagecoachcertification.com. If you ever have any questions or you're curious, reach out to myself or Danni, and follow our new Instagram page at at Institute for Body Image. So that is our organization that we have co-created, that our programs sit under. And so we created a separate Instagram. Check that out and give us a follow so that we can get to more than 100 people at the time of this recording.
But that's good, and just less than a week getting 100 people. And what about one of our posts got almost 700 likes already?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Well, as always, it's a pleasure chatting with you in here, having public conversations instead of private ones.
I know, right?
Where can people find you, Danni? I got to plug that in too.
Oh, yes. Amapoundcake, Amapoundcake, Amapoundcake. And I wouldn't be on all platforms of Amapoundcake.com, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't tell you guys this. It is election season. Please vote, and vote the way you think I would want you to vote.
We are both wearing blue today, okay?
Yes, we are.
Not that you need to read anything into that, but or you can if you want. All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for being here today and for listening. You can find the show notes at summerinanen.com/304. I did link to the video by Kimberly Nicole Foster on the Kardashians. It's just like a 1-minute clip, but it's so good. So head over to the show notes and you can check that out. Don't forget to consider supporting this podcast via Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/summerinanen. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Rock on. I'm Summer Inanen, and I want to thank you for listening today. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Summer Inanen. And if you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts, search Eat the Rules, and subscribe, rate, and review this show. I would be so grateful. Until next time, rock on.